Yes, this little commentary I was just musing on the idea that uh, people have been finding um, species all over the place, and the best place to look is to go small, even though we're still finding very large organisms. Um, the reason I'm connecting this is just as an idea I had with uh, going over information about fractals and the measurements of coastlines, and that the famous example is how long is the coastline of Britain, and the answer is really depends on how long your ruler is, and if you have a small enough ruler, you can almost make it infinite. Uh, which leads me to a couple of other ideas. First would be that um, that as you use a smaller and smaller ruler, or that if we use just even just a generally small ruler on the coastline, we imagine that these things are have they're the same all the way through, the homogeneous. That if you you sample the coast, or at least that I'm sure not everyone has that flavor, but what I'm getting at is that there's a tendency just to broad blanket stuff, and so by thinking about uh, any particular coastline, like we're here in Staten Island, and so if you were to go inch by inch and examine the sand, um, you would probably end up finding animals that no one's ever seen before, and it's even we would likely find a lot. That was that bell curve shape of there's a certain abundance of certain stuff that's so common, but mixed in there because we're examining it inch by inch, and the little micro communities and micro ecosystems, there is still a chance that even in a local zone that seems to have been well studied, you'd still come across things that no one's seen before. So there's hope for the amateur microscopist who just wants to go down to the beach and get a sample of water, get a sample of plankton, uh, uh, you know, and just uh, do his little search in his own home. So there's still plenty of room for discovery that way. So I guess if anything, that this commentary is just one that is trying to encourage people to actually go out and uh, grab a handful of sand and look in between the grains and find whatnot, and get a small microscope, or even if it's a magnifying lens, and go down and take a look at things. Um, on the second thing that comment on it is just the whole idea that an infinitely small ruler, well, in actual practice, there's you can get down to a plank length ruler, and so I thought that was an interesting end to that other uh, thought, which is that if like what is the length of a coastline at the plank length, and that would be an interesting mathematical uh, uh, way to because it's not infinite, obviously, just by the fact that uh, there's a limit to the graininess of reality with the Planck length. There would have to be a limit. So it would be immense. It would really, really be long. You know, so there again, there's plenty of room for animals that you hadn't necessarily seen. Uh, Granted, at that scale, and because they can't even look at it at that scale now with atomic uh, laboratories that are studying the atom, uh, we, we would be prohibited from that. But still in the range of light microscopes, there's still probably a lot we could look at. And let's see. Well, that subscribe if you find anything I say interesting, and I'm trying to get my subscribers up. Uh, Appreciate everybody that watches, and hope everybody gets out there and walks around and looks at things. All right.